Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Yes, it's the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 910 for the 15th of March, 2026. Richard Saunders coming to you from a slightly cooler, slightly more windy Sydney, Australia. This is not good weather for ghosts. It blows the sheets away. Can't have naked ghosts. Why am I talking about ghosts? The Loons from Canada. Kate and Allie, otherwise known as Kat and Adrienne, head for a ghost hunt tour investigation, along with Rodney Schmaltz from MacEwan University and his students, this time in a new location, Freeman's Lodge, where the students attempt to recreate the kind of ghostly evidence typically featured on paranormal investigation shows. Now, this is a fun report. You hear them creeping about an old creepy building, and they even ride the oldest elevator in Edmonton. Maybe that's haunted. Now, I think our loons from Canada, Kate and Allie, have far too much fun. Anyway, that's coming up at the top of the show. Following that, it's Anecdotes are not evidence. I know it happened because it happened to me. I know what I saw. This sort of statement is what skeptics hear all the time. But is someone's sincerely held belief enough to justify the belief itself? We look at the nature of anecdotes and testimonials, and that includes a mention to a wonderful video with Dr. Steve Novella and Dr. Mike, and the link to that video is in this week's show notes. It's lengthy, but it's a great explanation from Dr. Steve Novella especially about all sorts of things, including acupuncture and homeopathy. Then we have the Australian Skeptics Newsletter, written by our news editor D, read by Adrienne Hill in Canada, because why not? Then to round off the show, in the TROVE segment, we're going to be looking at Perpetual Motion machines. And this one here, that's been going here on the desk since the first episode of the Skeptic Zone in 2008. This little Perpetual Motion machine, I set it going and, oh, it's broken. Oh, well, so much for that. We're going to be looking at perpetual motion machines. Are they just fantasy? Yeah, probably. Find out what newspaper items have had to say on this topic over the decades. Now, before we get stuck into the show, don't forget that Noticon, the wonderful convention, or not a convention, plus the Australian Skeptics Convention number 42, a combined effort. It's happening in Sydney on the 23rd to the 25th of July this year, downtown Sydney, right in the heart of downtown Sydney. A wonderful location, and it's going to be so much fun. Click the link at the Skeptic Zone homepage. Just scroll down a little bit from the top of the episode, and you'll see some links there to Logical Fallacies with Michelle Bickersma. Hello, Michelle. On the Moans with Kate Thomas, our new reporter. And then you'll see Noticon, Meet the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe Rogues, and lots of special guests. Well, that's enough for me at the moment. It's time for me to run downstairs and have some gelato. Ooh, and maybe a mochi. I don't know if you've had mochi where you are in your part of the world, but oh my goodness me, it is so delicious. Absolutely. I love, I get the little ones. I mean, you can get all sorts of ones, but I like the little ones. And my favorite, of course, is the peanut one, the peanut mochis. Well, I do that. I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. It's the Loons from Canada. Here's Kate and Allie.
Hello, everybody. This is Allie and Kate. And we're about to embark on another ghost hunt with Rodney Schmaltz's MacEwan University class.
Psych 441.
This time, it's at a new location, and we're really excited about it. And Kat, or Kate, has done a lot of research on this particular location. Can you tell us where we're going to be?
We are going to be at the Edmonton Freemasons Hall, which is home to the first elevator in Edmonton. Its nickname is the Hellevator because it's rickety and unreliable. And there is a dance floor in the basement that is spring-loaded, so that should make for fun creaks and oddities.
And we're looking at the building right now, and it has a very interesting facade.
It does. It looks like there's some Gothic architecture and some stained glass in the upper floors, a beautiful oak door. It's a gorgeous old brick building that's 100 years old.
Yes, so we should have some good spooky time.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. Woo!
Well, let's go in and take a look.
So what we have is a poltergeist that moves stuff a little bit. Now, the ones that are maybe a bit more interesting are just feelings of creepiness, just feeling uncomfortable. We have access to everything in Freemasons Hall, but we need to be really, really respectful. Don't touch anything. You'll also go outside at one point, and the reason I want you to go outside is twofold. One is that it'll be a great place to see orbs, and two, in some of the windows, supposedly you can see faces, but you can only see these faces from outside. The goal is to try to recreate this, get a photo of that face, and then figure out what it is, what's actually happening. I think I mentioned when we went to the Mackenzie house, there was supposedly a man with a top hat in the second floor in the window. And he too could only supposedly be seen from the outside. And what it was is that when a car would drive by, there'd be a reflection from the trees, and it kinda sorta looked like a man with a top hat. Really easy to figure out. So that's what we want to do. So we're looking for infrasound, we're looking for uneven floors, and lots of photos. So as Adrienne was saying, and we talked a bit about before, this idea of pareidolia, try to take some photos and let's see if we can find something ghostly in them. So take a lot. And with orbs, make sure your flash is on. So take some of the flash on, some off. If the flash is on, you're probably gonna get an orb, right? Especially where it's dusty. What ghost hunters will do is they usually are looking for someone, right? So-and-so passed away here. The nice thing about the Masons is that there's so much supposedly secret society in these types of ideas. So it's more kind of a global ghost hunt rather than looking for a specific spirit. So anything that feels kind of creepy and so on, and then we're going to figure out exactly what is going on there and see if we can explain all of it, which I suspect we'll be able to do. Again, one of the most important things, as Kenny said and we talked about in class, lots and lots of notes. If you feel weird somewhere, write it down. Smell something, write it down. Don't forget, when you see those ghost hunter shows online on TV, if they smell something unusual, that's an episode. Because nothing is happening in those shows. So little things that might seem like they're not important, write them down anyway. Because ghost hunters would find that fascinating. And even if you hear some creaking, there's a good chance it's us. But with the ghost hunting shows, and Kieran O'Keefe, who I mentioned briefly, he would say that they would be filming on different floors. But somebody on one floor would hear a creaking and go, I think it's a ghost. They knew somebody was on the next floor. So if you hear creaking, fair game. Okay, we can do that, and then of course we will explain it, whereas ghost hunters would say that they have encountered a spirit. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah?
My question is the whole place going to be in the dark? Because I'm assuming it'll be in the dark because it's creepier.
I asked them if we can shut the lights off. And we can. I'm bringing flashlights, and you can use the flashlights on your phone as well, of course.
Okay.
I don't want anybody to trip, so the basement actually has a lot of hazards in it. It's not particularly safe. So we'll keep the lights kind of on there, but what you can do even down there, maybe I'll come down, is turn them off, take some photos, turn it back on. You don't want to walk around. But when we're on the different floors, when we go in the rooms, we'll cut the lights at some points, get the flashlights, and then again, you're going to be more likely to see things in the photos because it's going to be grainier and so on. So and you'll maybe be more likely to just see things as well because we'll be using more processing with the rods rather than the cones on our retina. We don't see as well in low light. We're pattern seekers, we're more likely to see faces. So yes, we will cut the lights at some points with a focus on safety. There's balconies and things, so we don't want anybody falling off of anything. But we'll definitely cut the lights. I got some bad flashlights. Because remember, with ghost hunters, you want all the equipment to be bad. Because if you have low-level flashlights, better, because then it's creepier. Like the broken radios is your spirit box. Everything like that. The worse it is, the better it is for a ghost hunter.
We can see the Hellevator.
It is very tiny. It has burgundy paint on it with a tiny little porthole window on it.
And it says, caution, elevator floor may be uneven. Watch your step.
Dun, dun, dun.
And it looks like Rod might have to duck.
Yes, it looks like it's meant for somebody my size, not his size.
Or my size. So it's okay if we actually go on it, the three of us? Ooh. Oh, how many people can it actually hold?
I think it's up to 2,000 pounds.
Okay. Wow. Thank you. Okay, we're stepping up into the elevator. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love the old push buttons.
Oh,
Yeah,
look at
very
that.
cool.
Okay, so when it stops, it's going to jiggle a little bit. And it's probably not going to be level, so watch your step.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's creaking.
Yep.
First elevator in Edmonton.
Yes.
They're both a little jittery for a ghost hunt.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we'll start at the 4th floor. Joan pointed this out to me the other day, and this is supposedly haunted.
It's a haunted hallway. Look at this. Wow. So right now I'm in the psychomantium room, which is not an overly large room. It has a big oval table in the middle of it. And the creepy thing about it is there is a hallway that extends off it that is narrow and long and creepy. And it has white paint, and you can hear the echo as I enter it. And then doors, one after the other, numbered 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on, all the way up to, it looks like 24. And at the end of the hallway is a window, and the window is a frosted window. So the effect is quite spooky, and the students are absolutely loving it. And the temperature as I walk along this hallway continues to drop quite drastically. I'm guessing ghosts, or could it be 100-year-old window, or maybe both? All right, girls, so you guys are all testing the temperatures, correct? And who have we got here?
Muskan, Emily, and Tamika.
Hey, Tamika. Hey. I think you've been on before.
I think I have.
Yes. And what have you discovered? Have you found ghosts?
Well, I got an orb on a photo so far.
That's wonderful.
And after entering the 4th floor conference room, I was taking a few pictures, and apparently there is a ghost.
And what is the evidence for this ghost?
In the photo itself, it looked like there was some light painting. There was a bit of a blue light in there, as well as like a shadowy figure at the end of the hall.
That's very exciting. And what could that blue light be if it wasn't a ghost?
Well, Tamika has devices on her. She has the heat gun that we're kind of looking around, seeing what we can find, as well as her phone. And there's also a window right behind her, so with the movement going around, it could have just been something reflecting in an odd way.
I'm here at the Masonic Hall in Edmonton in the beautiful oak ceremony room. I've been working with the students on divination techniques and a ghost bell, and I was trying to record the session. However, my microphone kept giving the error message, no SD card, even though I have an SD card, clearly because I'm recording now. So we were trying to reach Dr. Edward Braithwaite, and we had lots of feedback on the divination board, and the ghost bell was swinging quite a lot. The next group is due in a few minutes, and I'm just going to take in this gorgeous space. We've also been granted access to the mahogany room, which is just as beautiful as you'd imagine it to be, with these beautiful inlaid floors and stunning, stunning architecture. But the floor outside is just a wee bit squeaky.
So what does the ghost from the hallway said? You said you found something on your, what is that, an EVP meter?
Yeah, it's a spirit box.
Oh, you have a spirit box.
Time to at 7:03, it said labor, and then...
Did you actually hear it, though?
No.
Now it says stretched. Yeah. And what's your name?
Mariette.
Thank you. And?
Tara.
And Tara, you just experienced the psychomantium. What did you see?
It kind of looked like my face was distorting into a demon almost.
It's creepy, isn't it?
Very creepy. I did not enjoy that.
And what did you think of the creepy hallway?
Very creepy. I did not like the stairs at the end. Looks like it's out of a horror movie. I don't like that. With the window at the end and all the repeating doors, it just makes it look like it's going on forever.
The way my sister was like, don't come home tonight. She was like, I don't know what you're bringing with you, but they're very big believers because my family's Muslim. Oh, okay. So they're believers in like jinn and ghosts, and they're like, Ikra, I don't care about your class, we believe in it. I'm like, okay.
So are you worried? Your family's worried. Are you worried at all?
I feel like not as much.
That's
I don't
good.
think so. I think this class is helping.
That's good.
It's a story, yeah, we did the research. If anything, I'm more worried about it being a secretive cult.
That makes sense.
Yeah, than I am of ghosts,
Yes.
I think. After reading that, yeah.
And what's your name?
Ikra.
What is that? Is that an EVP meter? Oh, it says electromagnetic radiation detector. Ooh, that's fancy. Okay. Oh, well, that scared me. So right now I'm looking up a very creepy staircase that goes up, it looks like, into the attic. And it's one of those kind of drop-down stairwells into a hole in the ceiling. And that's where the sound came from. It made me jump. Oh my goodness. So there must be some kind of, heating system or something up there. Not sure. Or a ghost. And by the way, I'm all by myself right now on the 4th floor waiting for my next group of students when that happened. There it goes again. I jumped again, even though I know what it probably is.
Yeah, this is the boiler, and this is the original boiler from when they first built the hall and everything.
Is it still working?
I don't think so,
Okay.
no. Yeah, there's so much history in this building.
How long have you been working here?
Since, I want to say, September, October.
And you're enjoying it?
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
good.
I love it.
Can you say your name again?
Oh yeah, so I'm Sarah Adams. I took Rodney's skepticism class last semester, loved it. I had just gotten this job, kind of beginning of semester, so I told him, if you ever want a new location to do a ghost hunt, I work at the Freemasons Hall, I could see if I could get you connected, and then now here we are. So I'm very excited that it was able to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a great location, and we're in a really creepy room right now.
Yeah. The last group, they were in there, and they had all the lights off, so it was extra creepy. And then the boiler kicked on, which scared the shit out of all of them, I guess. It's so old, and it kind of has a bit of an eerie vibe. It's hard to not feel on edge, even though you know. But I'm in love with this building.
I love the wrought iron railings as we go up the stairs.
Yes, yeah.
Is that oak, I'm guessing?
I think so. And then we were just going through a bunch of old papers about the history of this place. And on June 20th this year, it will be its 95th birthday.
So almost 100 years old.
Yeah.
I had some weird experiences happening. In the very first group that came in, when I was doing the Ouija board and divinations with the pendulums, I was trying to do a recording. And my microphone kept saying, no SD card, no SD card. But it has an SD card in it. And then later in the last group, I was explaining how to use a Ouija board, and my phone turned on a video. My phone was in my back pocket, and I was not sitting down. It turned on a video of Susan Gerbic talking about psychics. And then when we were wrapping up, Dr. Rod was talking, and it felt like somebody brushed my hair. And I turned back, and I looked at Laura, and I said, did you need me? She's like, no. I'm like, did somebody just touch my hair? And she said, no. So clearly it's haunted. We must come back.
Woo! We just finished our third?
It's our third.
Ghost hunt, but this time, as we said at the beginning, we were at a new location. So what made you decide to come here instead, Rod?
I had a student in a former class that did a ghost hunt with us, and she works here. And she was kind enough to reach out and ask if we'd be interested. So we were very excited to have the opportunity to check out the Freemasons Hall.
And I think it worked out really well. Did you go to Concordia College when you were in Rod's class? Say your name.
My name's DJ, and we went to Concordia on our ghost hunt, but I found this one much more interesting.
I think so too. I mean, Concordia is amazing.
Beautiful, beautiful architecture, beautiful school. I feel like this one just had a better vibe.
A ghostly vibe. Yeah. And it was in a much more contained area. I think that helped.
Yeah, that definitely helped, I think.
And what were your thoughts, Dawson?
It was awesome. The furnace went off in the boiler room, and I've never heard 5 grown women scream so much before in my life.
Do you know what? I think I heard that scream all the way up to the 4th floor where I was hanging out.
I do not doubt it.
Any last thoughts, Rod?
It was a fantastic experience. It is the first elevator in Edmonton, so we got to go on the elevator. A big thank you to the Freemasons Hall for allowing us to do this. So the students had a fantastic time. I don't think we found any ghosts, but who knows, maybe we'll be back.
Well, we have a lot of recordings and photographs and video to analyze before we make that conclusion.
That's right. So we do know we found a lot of orbs. It's a 100-year-old building, so there's no way it could be dust. That's probably ghosts, so we'll start there and we'll keep looking.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Until next time, this is Kate
and Allie, the Loons from Canada. Woohoo!
All ただいま聞いていただいているポッドキャストはオーストラリアから The Skeptic Zone という科学と論理のポッドキャストです。英語は世界中で数ある言葉の一つですが、このポッドキャストはいろいろな国の言葉で紹介します。www.skepticzone.tv を調べて、ホームページの下までにスクロールすると、折り紙のピガサスという翼のある豚を工夫したリッチャード・ソーンダスのオリジナルの折り紙のポスターをダウンロードをすることができます。
I know it works because it works for me. I know what I saw. If it works for him, it should work for me. The psychic I saw was so accurate she couldn't have known these things. I know it works. Now, these kinds of statements are called anecdotes, not to be confused with antidotes, which I do periodically. I must try to stop that. And while anecdotes can be interesting, they are not evidence. An anecdote is simply a personal story or an individual experience. It might be completely sincere. It might be even accurate. But the problem is that a single story cannot tell us whether something is actually true. And the sincerity and the conviction of the person telling the story is also not a good indicator of whether the event or their perception is true. First, we have the problem of coincidence. Imagine if somebody catches a cold, they go to the pharmacy, maybe they're going to see Kate Thomas, I don't know, to buy a herbal remedy. Or maybe not Kate Thomas. 2 days later, their cold is gone. They tell everybody that remedy cured my cold. But most colds naturally improve after a few days anyway. So the question becomes, did the remedy work, or was the person simply getting better already? Now, to find out which is true, we need careful testing. We also have something called confirmation bias, and we see this in the skeptical sphere quite a lot. Now, we humans are very good at remembering things that conform to what we believe or what we expect, and we tend to forget things or disregard things that don't, and we all do this. So, an example would be in a psychic reading. A psychic might make 20 predictions. 2 of them seem to be accurate. Those 2 hits will be remembered and repeated and probably expanded upon, probably inflated. The 18 misses will quietly disappear from the memory or be downplayed. Soon the story becomes, the psychic knew everything about me, or, as we've heard again and again, they nailed it, or they were spot on, or they knew things that they couldn't have possibly known. But as James Randi found out, when he made a recording of such a psychic reading, there were dozens of names thrown out by the psychic and only a few remembered by the sitter. Now there's the placebo effect. People can genuinely feel better simply because they believe a treatment will help them. They have the perception of feeling better. They might be calmer. They might have a better outlook. The expectation alone can produce real changes in how people feel, how they perceive things. This is why proper medical trials compare treatments against placebo, something that looks like the treatment but has no active ingredient. Without that comparison, personal stories about medical success can be very misleading. And the ironic case here is with homeopathy, because homeopathy itself is a placebo. So if it's tested against a placebo, there's just one placebo being tested against another placebo. Also, we have sham acupuncture, where the acupuncturist doesn't know if the needle has gone in or not, nor does the patient. Steve Novella speaks on this matter in a wonderful video he did with Dr. Mike recently. Indeed, I'll link to that in this week's show notes. Yet another issue is human memory, and it is not perfect, far, far from it. Our memory is a reconstruction of what we think probably happened. And the more times you remember something, the more opportunity that memory has to be modified. The classic case here would be if two people remember the same incident completely differently, or differently enough. Or you've had this situation where you've placed your keys down somewhere only to discover when you've gone to look for your keys that they were somewhere else. And you're absolutely gobsmacked. No wonder people believe in internet fairies, skeptical fairies coming in and moving keys and things like that. People unintentionally reshape events, add details, and forget other parts. It's all very human. So even a completely honest anecdote may not accurately reflect what actually happened. This is why science does not rely on testimonials, on anecdotes, on people saying, I know it's true because I know it's true. Instead, it uses controlled testing, large numbers of participants, and repeatable experiments. And if we remember Randi again, he spent decades and decades testing extraordinary claims under controlled scientific conditions. Indeed, when he had the $1 million challenge, one of the statements put out was, please don't send us long-winded explanations and testimonials about how it works or why it works. Just come and show us it working. Now, having said all that, it doesn't mean that testimonials and anecdotes are not useless. In fact, they can be a valuable starting point. A story might suggest a hypothesis. It might give scientists an idea what is going on and what is worth testing. But the story itself is not proof. The proof only comes after careful investigation. Now, from the skeptical activist point of view, like myself, if I ever go on radio here in Australia, especially talk radio, talkback radio, the announcer will invariably say, we've got Richard Saunders here, the skeptic. If you've seen a ghost, if you've seen a UFO, if you've gone to a psychic, ring up now. And of course, people ring up and just tell stories, their own personal experiences. And invariably, my response has to be, well, that's interesting, but I wasn't there. So the next time somebody says, I know it works because it worked for me, you shouldn't treat them too harshly. They probably sincerely believe in what they're saying, but we can ask the simple question, that's interesting. How can we test it? What should we do? How can we go about testing what you've just said? Because in science and skepticism, we move from stories to evidence. And as many skeptics have said, probably Randi, probably Carl Sagan, I think, the plural of anecdote is not data. And it neatly captures the idea that no matter how many stories we collect, no matter how many people sing from the same songbook, that does not mean that the claim is real. Stories can inspire curiosity, but only evidence can tell us what is actually true. There we go. And the next time you're on radio and people ring up saying, "How do you explain this, skeptic?" You might remember this, but again, the best comeback I've discovered is, well, that's interesting, but I wasn't there. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'll try to be there next time. Can you arrange that? Anecdotes and evidence. Some of the fascinating worlds we get to visit when we're skeptics.
Hola, les habla Paula desde la hermosa ciudad de Buenos Aires, en Argentina. Cuando escuchamos podcasts, escuchamos los mismos que escucha todo el mundo, como The Skeptic Zone. Ojalá puedan venir a visitarnos algún día. Los esperamos con nuestras riquísimas comidas locales y hasta podemos ir a bailar un tango. Mientras tanto, sigan disfrutando de su dosis semanal de ciencia y pensamiento racional. ¡Chao!
Hello everyone, this is Adrienne Hill from Skookum Studios in Calgary, Canada, and I'm here to read the highlights from the Australian Skeptics Newsletter. This is newsletter number 242. Now don't forget, you can sign up to this newsletter at skeptics.com.au and get the full report complete with all the links every other week right into your inbox. But let's see what our news editor Dee has for us this time. Hi all, says Dee. In the news this fortnight, we had a sudden spike in alertness about the shifting U.S. federal policy when it comes to pseudo-medicine, likely coinciding with the revival of the U.S. Autism Advisory Board from RFK Jr., which failed to convene for its first public hearing. Additionally, we have a new nomination for the 2026 Bent Spoon Award. Per the perpetrator of the most preposterous piece of paranormal or pseudo-scientific piffle. From various nominators comes the Vivacious Living Center for the use of the Metatron machine. We, at the Australian Skeptics, have teamed up with the Skeptics Guide to the Universe to bring you not a con, Skepticon, life, the universe, and everything, our 42nd annual conference. Tickets are now on sale. Continue on for more information. In the meantime, read on. Dee. Okay, Dee, I'll do just that. The Vivacious Living Center claims to diagnose and treat bodily conditions via a device known as the Metatron, NLS, or nonlinear system. Is it exponential? Quadratic? What is it? Which is a device from Russia. This is one of a range of so-called bioresonance machines, long since regarded as quackery. The Therapeutic Goods Administration, or TGA, has taken strong action against these devices in the past. The Metatron relies on a computer program that supposedly displays anatomical images of organs, etc., and what appears to be various pathogens and parasites infecting the heart, for example, together with animations of charts and scanning in progress. This information is gathered via something resembling a set of headphones worn by the client. Also, Additional nominations for the 2026 Bent Spoon are still open. If you have a burning nomination for the perpetrator of the most preposterous piece of paranormal or pseudoscientific piffle, you can forward them to our nomination page. Nominations should be for events, activities, or claims that have occurred in Australia or by Australians. Head to skeptics.com.au. Wellness pseudoscience is rewriting U.S. health policy. For decades, wellness misinformation lived in a space that was evidence-adjacent and problematic, but containable. The outspoken minority. But in today's era of anti-vaccine, anti-GMO, and FDA deregulation sentiments, things have changed. Now surrounded by official promotions of organic, certified, non-toxic, all-natural products, it hardly feels accidental that this once fringe subculture has taken center stage in policymaking. Meanwhile, after 67 years, Florida may legalize naturopathy medicine. Naturopathy is legalized in 23 U.S. states, including California and Arizona. It has been illegal in Florida since the state stopped issuing licenses in 1959. At that time, only 6 other states recognized the profession, and there were no schools in the U.S. that taught it. But the alternative approach could be on its way back in Florida, despite concerns that some of its methods are scientifically unproven. As well as RFK Jr. continues the search for autism links. Don't we call that anomaly hunting? The U.S. Autism Advisory Board was recently overhauled by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to include a contingent of vaccine skeptics and wellness activists. More than a third of the new members have promoted the debunked link between vaccines and autism. NASA responds brilliantly to President Trump on UFOs. UFO enthusiasts have waited decades for presidents of the USA to begin talking about aliens. On that front, February 2026 has probably been a real treat. To top it off, NASA once again reiterated their lack of evidence for extraterrestrials. And Ross, Bent Spoon winner, and any day now, Coulthart, states Trump didn't go far enough. Ross Coulthart, our 2023 winner of the Bent Spoon Award, although he has called it the Bent Fork, for promoting UFO conspiracies based on unsubstantiated hearsay or debunked claims, has claimed further conspiracy on the existence of ETs. Ross was quoted in his podcast, quote, "The truth about what the Pentagon and other agencies hold on UFOs won't see the light of day," end quote, recommending Trump issues an executive order to force NASA's hand. Another study shows shingles vaccine reduces risk of dementia. Ooh, that's good news. The most important benefit of the shingles vaccine is preventing shingles. But new research suggests that contracting shingles can make you vulnerable to dementia later in life. It also indicates that shingles, among other viral diseases, have biological mechanisms to damage the brain to induce the onset of dementia. Nauticon tickets are available. For this year's conference, we are partnering with the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe to bring you Nauticon, Skepticon, Life, the Universe, and Everything. And it's going to be held at the Sydney Masonic Centre for 3 days of skeptical excellence, from Thursday, July 23rd to Saturday, July 25th. Items of interest. Silly Story of the Week. The Loch Ness Monster, celebrated in newly minted British coins. Now that's cool. The eye-catching pieces of legal tender, unveiled earlier this month, are the first in a new series of collectibles titled Legendary Creatures. Paranormal numismatists hoping to get their hands on the Nessie bullion should hurry before it submerges. Though, story of the week. Psychology Today. Quote, when skepticism shifts to denial, end quote. Psychology Today batters the scientific community over refusing to repeatedly assess and accept the psi question. A skeptic should ask, what does the evidence suggest? Could there be another explanation? How can we test this more rigorously? But you'd be called a denialist if you refute any feelings-based fact repeatedly thrown at you. Well, that's all for this week's newsletter. And after learning about the Metatron machine, I was curious to see if it was available in Canada. My initial searches produced Metatron Press, an independent literary publisher based in Montreal, and a lot of advertisements for necklaces from Etsy and Amazon, including a Metatron cube, a 7 chakra, and a black tourmaline Metatron organite necklace. For that last one, the black tourmaline is a stone that provides powerful grounding and shields against negative energy. The Metatron cube uses sacred geometry, of course, to enhance clarity, intuition, and spiritual connection. It says nothing about the organite, so I had to look that up. And according to Organize Africa, quote, organite is a compound material made of resin, mostly polyester but also epoxy, and metal filings. Typically, quartz crystals and other minerals will be added to this compound in order to enhance the energy flow and increase the healing properties of the organite, end quote. The necklaces are actually quite beautiful, and they're not really expensive, but they do range in price from $20 to the highest priced one I saw was $180 Canadian. Though some may argue that any price is too high, unless you're looking for a pretty necklace. And this led me to discover that, according to Gaia.com, quote, Archangel Metatron is known as one of the most powerful and closest archangels to humanity. His role includes overseeing the Akashic records and assisting in the process of spiritual ascension, end quote. Now that was a rabbit hole I didn't expect to go down. Did I ever find anyone in Canada advertising the use of the Metatron machine? No, thank goodness. Until next time, this is Adrienne Hill from Skookum Studios in Calgary, Canada.
There are many psychics and channelers who claim they are in contact with the Galactic Federation. But we have uncovered the truth. The Adventures of Psychic Penny and the Galactic Federation, Series 1. A daring cosmic space adventure starring Richard Saunders, Kat MacLeod, Lara Benham, Maynard, Kathy Reitmeyer, and Adrienne Hill as Psychic Penny. Search for The Adventures of Psychic Penny. Time once again to go, well, you know where we're going. Well, if you listen to the show, you know. We're going to the TROVE Archives at trove.nla.gov.au, the wonderful repository of digital newspapers and magazines and so on, stretching back to the 1800s. Surely millions of articles, letters, reports and so on from newspapers scattered all over Australia and some further afield. We, of course, find no end of interesting information in those archives. And it's hard to imagine a topic that's not covered in the TROVE Archives in some form or other. Today, we're going to be looking for references to something that does come up, in a manner of speaking, to this day: perpetual motion. Basically, the idea of perpetual motion is you can have a device, a machine, a contraption of some kind or other, and once it's underway, once it's in motion, it continues in motion. If it's a wheel, it will continue spinning indefinitely. It does not need continual input from power, energy to keep it spinning. Of course, they are impossible because they violate fundamental laws of physics, especially the laws of thermodynamics. As far back as the 12th century, perpetual motion designs appeared. One from India describes a wheel with weighted spokes containing mercury. The idea was that the mercury would shift to keep one side of the wheel heavier, causing it to rotate forever. And even to this day, there are many similar ideas put forward with wheels with shifting weights, overbalanced wheels, shifting weights, rolling balls within spokes of the wheel, something like that. And of course, none have ever worked in practice. Around 1712, an inventor called Johann Bessler claimed to have built a working perpetual motion wheel. It was demonstrated to nobles and scholars, but he refused to reveal the mechanism unless paid a large sum. This rings very familiar to this day. After his death, it became clear that the device was almost certainly a fraud, probably powered by a secretly hidden mechanism or an assistant. By the late 1700s, scientists began to suspect that perpetual motion was fundamentally impossible. Now, a quick look at the law of thermodynamics, energy conservation. The first law states that energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. If there were a perpetual motion machine, it would produce energy without input, violating this law. The question must be raised, where is the energy coming from to keep the wheel, for example, in motion? The second law of thermodynamics, to do with entropy, says that entropy, disorder, in a closed system always increases. Now, to look at this in practical terms, energy conversions are never 100% efficient. Some energy always becomes lost as heat waste. A perpetual motion machine would have no such energy waste whatsoever. This, of course, has never been observed. Look at the modern day especially. There have been quite a few of these people come and go over the years, noticed by Australian skeptics, claim perpetual motion using magnetic motors, gravity wheels, over-unity generators, exotic energy fields. However, these claims always fail when carefully tested. Why are these inventors so convinced they work? Possibly measurement errors, possibly hidden power sources, misunderstanding of physics, and sometimes fraud. Patent offices have become skeptical. For example, the United States Patent and Trademark Office generally requires a working model before considering a perpetual motion patent. So why are we so sure that these machines are impossible? A true perpetual motion machine would have to violate at least one of these. 1. Conservation of energy, the first law. 2. Entropy increase, the second law. 3. Real-world inefficiencies like friction, resistance, and heat loss. Even the ball bearings in the spokes of the wheel going back and forth would have friction and heat loss. Perpetual motion machines were historically proposed before the laws of thermodynamics were understood. Once physics developed those laws in the 19th century, it became clear that such machines cannot exist in our universe. But that doesn't stop people trying. And one of the most common expressions of this idea to this day would be something like zero-point energy, something to do with scalar fields, which we've discussed over the last month here on the Skeptic Zone. It's also a common misunderstanding in the world out there of inventors and so on, that since science doesn't know everything, or since science changes, therefore my invention will work because science will eventually catch up. That's a huge red flag we look for. Any claim that comes along and the inventor, and this works for things like homeopathy too, they'll say, we know it works, science has yet to catch up, for which you can read, we think or hope it works, or we know full well it doesn't and we're frauds. We're just waiting for science to catch up. And of course, I'm not implying that everybody who comes along with a perpetual motion machine is a fraud. Quite often they're just honestly deluded, or shall we say optimistic but misguided. And we can all envisage the person there working in their garage or their basement on something they really think works. But let's turn to the archives and see what we can find written over the decades about perpetual motion. And we start with the Canberra Times, dated the 17th of March, 1945. A very short posting indeed. Perpetual motion. Memphis, Tennessee, Friday. J.P. Sparks, a naval radio man, claims to have devised a perpetual motion machine out of automobile magnets. One machine ran for 4 months on energy from 2 magnets. Now, what's this from a magazine, a newspaper called Worker, just Worker, from Brisbane, Queensland, dated the 17th of June, 1911. Perpetual motion. Alderman W.J. Whitford, who returned from a trip to Bendigo a few days ago, says the Orange Leader, and Orange is a city in New South Wales, this state, and the Leader would be their local paper, one would imagine, or was, has brought with him particulars of a Victorian invention which, it is claimed, has solved the hitherto supposed to be unsolvable problem of perpetual motion. The inventor is Mr. H. Rose, F.G.S. M.E., and his contrivance, which has been patented all over the world, is known as the self-acting gravity wheel. The invention is said to provide a new motive power, which will take the place of steam. When I was a boy, I had the pleasure of doing a tourist ride here in the Blue Mountains, or just on the other side of the Blue Mountains, west of Sydney, at a famous location called the Zigzag Railway, and that was a steam engine. Have you ridden in a steam engine or in one of the cars, I wonder? And now from the Sunday Times from Sydney, dated the 11th of December, 1910. Perpetual motion machine problem. The perpetual motion machine is ever with us, and this is in spite of the fact that the fallacy underlying all such machines has been made clear time without number. Even in 1910, they knew these things couldn't work. In the majority of such devices, the cause or causes which render them inoperative are readily detected. In others, they are more obscure, and some ingenuity is needed to discover where the fallacy lies, and to make that perfectly clear to oneself, equally evident to other people. As will be seen from the drawing of the latest perpetual motion device, the invention of an American, it consists of an endless belt, to which are affixed a number of empty vessels, one end of each of which is closed by an airtight, flexible, conical cover. And I'm reading this slowly because some of the letters here are very unclear. At the apex of each cover is a weight which, when the vessel is inverted, is sufficiently heavy to compress the air within the vessel and assume the position shown on the right side of the belt. Now, let me try to explain what I'm seeing here. If you can imagine 2 wheels used as pulleys, one above the other, with let's for argument's sake say about a 3 feet or about a metre gap between the wheels, so one wheel is about a metre above the other, and a belt runs between the 2 wheels. So if you were to turn one wheel, the belt would turn the other wheel. And attached to the belt are canisters. Imagine tin cans, one after the other. So if you rotate a wheel, the canisters would rotate around both wheels. I'm sure that's not very clear, but anyway. The belt runs on 2 disc pulleys carried on ball bearings, and the whole is immersed in a tank of water. Along one edge of the belt is arranged a small endless rubber tube which connects with the interior of each vessel and permits a free circulation of air between the vessels, as their diaphragms alternately change from the collapsed to the distended condition. I think that word's distended. Again, some of the letters are very unclear. At the first blush, it might be thought that because of the greater buoyancy of the vessels on the left-hand side, there must be some tendency for the belt and its attached vessels to travel around the pulleys, the latter rotating in the direction of the hands of a clock. As a matter of fact, the device would not operate. But why? Scientific American. Well, it's going to leave us hanging. But that's a very interesting article all the way back there in 1910, complete with a little diagram. It's easy enough to find for yourself. You just go to Trove, type in Perpetual Motion Machine, and look for references to the Sunday Times. And now we have a story from the North Australian, from Darwin, the Northern Territory, dated the 14th of July, 1888. 1888. And it's not a long piece. Again, the text here is a little bit faded, but we'll do our best. 1888, that's when Jack the Ripper was at large. Under the heading Science, a perpetual motion machine. A correspondent describes the following perpetual motion machine. It is an endless rubber tube with projections, on which are fastened thin rubber bags, and a small weight is attached to each bag. The bags are filled with air when the weight hangs down, and when it comes up to the top, I think the word is progresses, the air out of and through the hollow projection and the tube into the next bag that comes into position. When placed over 2 wheels in water, the bags filled with air should be lighter and rise, while the other side, with the air forced out, should sink. Sounds a little bit like the invention we just discussed. Each bag has come into position at the bottom. The left tube will be filled with air, expelled from a bag at the top. The weights will descend a certain amount, one in expanding and the other in contracting the bag. The lower bag has been expanded against a heavy water pressure. Thus each weight will suffer, quote, lost momentum, end quote, and a constant loss of power in this inoperative falling of the weights both at the upper and lower portions of their course will take place. Hence the machine will not move. Okay, I'm trying to picture all that in my mind. And some of these words, actually, I could have got wrong because some of the letters are missing, as we get sometimes with very old newspapers. Now, I noticed too, there's an excellent page over on Wikipedia, History of Perpetual Motion Machines. And if we look through, we can see there are claims going back, of course, centuries and centuries. More recently, we have lots of claims in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, even the 2000s. And I would imagine that there are people out there right now working hard in their basements or their garage who earnestly and sincerely think they have cracked it and have discovered perpetual motion. Perpetual motion, just one of the many topics of interest to skeptics that you can discover and find out all about when you go to Trove or any other digital newspaper resource from around the world. Visit Trove at trove.nla.gov.au. Type in your topic of interest because, well, you never know what you might find. Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast, and thank you to those people who make the show possible. Not just my reporters. Of course, without my reporters, there would be no show because they really are the heart and soul of the show, I think, with those wonderful reports from all around the world. But you, the listener, who listen to the show, and especially the listeners who contribute, who give a little bit back via Patreon or PayPal at skepticzone.tv. Some people chip in weekly, a little bit a week, like $5 a week or something like that. Some people do it monthly, and some people contribute more every now and then by way of a little grant or a little donation heading towards the show. You know who you are, and of course, you are vital to the show. So I thank you all. Coming up on next week's show, I hope to have another Woo Watch. I like watching Woo with Kate Thomas. I wonder what Woo she'll be watching next week. And just quietly, her podcast On the Moans is going gangbusters. She has really made huge strides in learning how to edit and produce podcasts herself. And she's got very good at it. So congratulations, Kate, and it's a really worthwhile podcast. Again, you'll find the link in the show notes. And what else do we have coming up on next week's show? Let me look at my little calendar here, which tells me what's coming up on next week's show. Yes. We have an update from Susan Gerbeck on her latest escapades around the internet chasing those naughty psychics. And Adrienne Hill catches up with Susan to ask her what's new with Psychics Explained, what stings has she been up to lately, and what's the latest with guerrilla skepticism on Wikipedia. And you'll find out how you too can become a Wikipedia editor. But for this week, this is Richard Saunders signing off once again from Sydney, Australia.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Please visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for episodes and show notes with links going back to 2008. You can follow the Skeptic Zone on Facebook, X, TikTok and YouTube by clicking the links at our homepage, together with links to support the show financially via Patreon or PayPal. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed by our guests are not necessarily those of the Skeptic Zone podcast or any other skeptical organisation.
More than a third of the new members have promoted the debunked link. Jules having a dream and her tags waggling, thumping on the floor. Spirit dog, Jewel, you need to wake up. The only thing that's in my office is her tail. Her body's on the carpet outside.
Now it's time once again for those people who listen after the music stops to, where's my pen, to play the dice game. This is where we roll some dice and you use your special powers, whatever that means, to predict what number comes up. I'm going to roll along with you, so to speak. And I'm going to roll a d10. Here's one. I have a collection here. I'm going to roll a d10 and we'll roll it 3 times and then a 4th. Because, well, the idea is you use any psychic ability you might have, maybe, or you guess and see if you can predict the the numbers that are coming up, which is odd. I think I've explained this before or tried to wrap my head around it. For everybody bar me, this has already been happening. This has happened, I should say. This is all in the past. This is simply a recording of something that happened in the past. But for me making this recording, it's yet to happen. So if you're predicting something, sitting there in your car or at home, you're predicting something that's already happened. Maybe the pilot in that plane flying over can help me too. Well, that's a low-flying plane. Anyway, we're going to roll this die. I'm going to predict for roll 1, I'm going to predict a 1. For roll 2, I'm going to predict a 2. For roll 3, have a guess, a 3. And for roll 4, a 4. Well, why not? Why not? Here we go. Roll number 1. So you also have a guess. Roll 1 is 4. Okay. Roll 2 coming up. Here it comes. Roll 2 is a 3. I can see a pattern coming here. And roll number 3 coming up is a 4. Well, there goes the pattern. Oh, well. Haven't matched any yet. And roll number 4, the supplementary, the extra roll. I predicted a 4, and it's going to be a 2. Today's winning numbers: 4, 3, 4, and 2. How did you go?